Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show at Rise Up Show with me, your host, the Queen Bee, Dani. How are you feeling? As we chat this morning to the devilishly handsome, the fabulously wonderful, the incredibly knowledgeable Mr. Fidel Hill, the modern man. Good morning. Jodie Sol, good morning. Fab Naredi, good morning. Elise Woodbine, good morning. The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon, good morning, sir.
Shut up, for fuck's sake. Jesus.
The fantastic Lizzie Jackson Barrett, good morning. Josephine Sandra, everybody, good morning. Good morning, my angels, my loves, my darlings. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Show Up, Rise Up show. It is Hump Day, which, when I first discovered there was such a thing as Hump Day, I thought it was something a little bit more rude than actually getting over the hump of the week. I thought it was naughty. I thought it was a day that you did naughty things, but apparently not. It is the roller coaster of the week where we have hit the peak of the week and we are sliding down into the DMs of the weekend. However, I don't believe that we're going to slide down. I believe that you get to choose these things. You get to choose when your hump day is. You might not need a hump day. You might just think, do you know what? Wednesday's awesome. I like a Wednesday. It's a dead productive day. I'm here for it. I don't feel like I'm getting over the hump of anything. It doesn't feel like a slog because we get to choose these things. Anyway, that's my musing this morning. Good morning. I hope you're all well. Welcome to the Show at Rise Up Show with me, your host, Dani Wallace. I am the Queen Bee. Yes, it's an audacious statement. However, I am the fearless leader of the I Am the Queen Bee movement. Things have been rocking and rolling this week. I don't know what's going on with my hair. Because it's dark behind me, you can't see this half of my bun. So it looks like I've only got a half bun today. I don't know what's going on. But things have been rocking and cockling over in the IATQB Hive, which is my free community, where this week we have been participating in the Move Bee Get Out the Way challenge. In light of the announcements on Monday, I thought it was really pertinent that we start to get a real focus on the known, on where we are right now, how we may have been getting in our own way, how we may have been living in fear and how that's affected our lives and our businesses over the past 12 months and maybe even beyond, and start to make some plans about rolling our sleeves up and moving through the other side of that. Now, there has been light bulb central over in the Hive. There have been so many revelations, so many explorations. So it's just been absolutely phenomenal. There is still time to catch up if you want to get amongst it. All you need to do is head on to the IATQB Hive. It stands for I Am the Queen Bee. If you're wondering what it stands for, that's what it stands for. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good morning to Susan Hutton. Well done. Welcome. Well done for joining us nearly every morning. It's lovely to see a familiar face. Thank you to all of our usual suspects. And indeed, if you are new to the show, welcome to you too. Carrie Davies, good morning. Welcome. Amy, taking part in the Move Bee Challenge at the moment, as is Karen Dawkins. Hola. Hello. Buenos dias. ¿Qué pasa, everybody? I hope you are feeling good today. I am what we're saying. How can it be Hump Day with double Dani? I'm renaming it as Win It Wednesday. I am here for this. I used to call Wednesday Wine and Steak Wednesday. I used to celebrate a Wednesday. But yeah, Win It Wednesday. I am here for that. Absolutely, Michelle. And thank you for joining us on the show. So one of the things that we have been talking about, not one of the things, but the overarching theme for the past couple of weeks, indeed this week and on into next week, is self-sabotage and the things that we do to ourselves that prevent us from moving through and creating the success, whatever our measure of success is. We're not just talking about financial success here. You know, this is not that kind of community. Yes, we welcome abundance. Yes, we welcome and heal our relationships with money, but success is broad and it means different things to different people. However, we deal with ourselves based on our stories that we tell ourselves, and sometimes that leads us to living in fear. And when we behave in fear and stress, we often exhibit behaviors that hold us back. One of those things could be things like alcohol addiction and disordered eating. So when we talk about disordered eating, we're going to talk about this in more depth this morning with the fantastic transformational coach Vicky Midwood. So trigger warning, we will be talking about disordered eating this morning, and I want to make sure that if it's a contentious conversation for you, please do feel free to just allow yourself a little bit of space and love yourself through this conversation if you want to remain with us through it. If not, it is absolutely safe and okay for you not to tune in and for you to go and do something else in order to keep yourself safe. However, Vicky is phenomenal at helping people if they find themselves in this position. So I'm going to, without further ado, ahead of National Eating Disorders Month, which is next month, to start to raise awareness in the run up to it, we've got the glorious, the very knowledgeable, and do you know what? She's a jolly, thoroughly bloody good human being, Vicky Midwood, onto the show this morning. Good morning.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you on Hump Day. I have to say, when you started saying that, I started going, yeah, I used to think that too.
Right? Did you think? I was like, it's years ago. Like, it's a relatively new concept to me in the last sort of 10 years. Oh, it's Hump Day. And I'd be like, it's Hump Day. Oh,
now
it doesn't
it's
mean that.
Woo Day instead.
Win It Wednesday. I'm here for a Win It Wednesday. I don't know about you.
Love it. I like to win every day.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Vicky, thank you so much for joining us on the Show Up Rise Up show. One of the things that I love about this show is that we get to bring all sorts of conversations to the table. And actually, this particular conversation isn't something that we've tackled in too much depth in the last 12 months. We've talked about lots of things, body confidence. We've talked about body acceptance. We've talked about breaking habits. We've talked about lots of things, but not specifically what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's a very, very important, given what we're talking about in the wider community, it's an important conversation to be putting onto the table and to be having a look at within ourselves and within the people around us. So Vicky, tell us more about what you do.
Yeah, so I kind of refer to myself as the alcohol addiction and disordered eating eliminator. And that's because I eliminate the need, the desire, the obsession to use food or alcohol or both to help you to get through life. And because that's what I did for decades. Right. And I didn't realize that all of that stuff was holding me back, not helping me to get through life at all. And it was making me downright miserable. So what I do now is I struggled to find how to get the right help that I wanted. And I struggled because there were always pieces of the puzzle missing. Which left me confused, annoyed, frustrated, and because I'm a bit of a geek, I needed to find out just why the hell I was finding it so hard to sort myself out. I did find those missing puzzle pieces, and so now I can help people to get the help that I needed, get the solutions to get the results so much faster. Right. So that is my passion, is to help people. Eating disorders is often seen as a purely mental health thing, and so is addiction. And I want to say loud and clear, it is mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, right?
100%.
And if you miss out one of them, you will struggle much longer and much harder than you have to. And it's not doing one, then the other. And this is where people fall down. You need to do it simultaneously. And you need to do it with somebody who knows what you need, when you need it, so that you're putting the right puzzle pieces in place for you. And that's what I do.
Amazing. And it's amazing work. And it's so interesting the way that you say that it is, that it is pieces of the puzzle that sit together, that if you just treat the mental health side of things and you don't touch the others, then it's going to be very difficult to form the complete picture. Similarly, if you are just looking at the physical aspects of treating things like this, it becomes very difficult. If you only look at the spiritual side of things, you're kind of banging the woo-woo drum and you're not putting the practical things in place. So actually, when you holistically bring yourself together and do that, and it stops becoming like you're not spinning plates waiting for one to wobble. It's like, I guess, Harry Potter, regardless of the turf situation, which we will leave at the door for a second, but it's like Harry Potter when he goes around getting the Horcruxes.
Yes.
And you've got to have all the pieces of
All
the
the
Horcruxes in order for the beasts to be battled, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's something. One of the things that I am really, really hot on is the language that we use. And what really hacks me off quite a lot, for saying it politely, is
we can say it boils your piss. It's all right. It's my show.
Right. Well, it does. It really pisses me off when people talk about beating it and battling it. Right? We're not going to beat an eating disorder. We're not going to battle addiction. Right? Because what you're saying is you're trying to push it away. You're trying to fight it. Right. And the more you resist something, the more it persists. Right. So we need to welcome it in and go, okay, I'm going to make friends with you and find out what the fudge is going on. And what do I need to do to make an alliance with this and to be able to change things? If we're always fighting, it's freaking exhausting, right? And so when people talk to me about fighting bulimia or fighting binge eating, I'm going, stop frigging fighting. Right. Let's make friends with what's going on. Let's know our patterns. Let's find out what's triggering it. Let's play detective. Let's get curious. Right. And then we can start to do what we need to do. But if we're just trying to stop stuff or change things without doing any of that, you will always be fighting and you'll always flipping well lose.
Because it's exhausting to maintain a fight. If you're in constant state of fight, there will come to a point where you might feel like you're winning for a little bit, but then actually, how do you maintain that if winning equals fighting? Would winning not equal peace? Would winning not be equilibrium? Would that not be what that means, as opposed to it being this sort of fight all the time, this friction and resistance, and that's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't realise. I mean, I was fortunate enough, it's a little bit of background. So I started life in the wellness world as a fitness instructor and personal trainer 30 years ago. And I still do.
You brought me a brew.
Love it. Yeah, this is what we want. We all need a Wallace to bring us a brew.
He's a legend. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So I started off in the world of health and fitness as a PT instructor, a fitness instructor, and realized really early on that ladies were coming to me to lose weight and get fit, but that wasn't the reason behind it. They wanted to feel better. They wanted to feel sexier. They wanted to feel more confident in themselves. They wanted to say, actually, do you know what? I don't want to be a stay-at-home wife. I want to run my own business, right? And they focused on health as a way to do that. So I realized early on I needed to understand people's language. I needed to understand their behavior. And that way I could help them a lot better. Right. But that also kept me stuck in my issues, right? There's a legitimate excuse, wasn't it, for me to have body image issues and stuff. Right. And my first partner was a restaurateur. So guess what? Free access to alcohol and food. What better? I can be an exercise. Yeah. Absolutely. Exercise addict, pretending on the outside all was well, eating all the food, drinking all the drink, thinking everything was fine. And it's only when I nearly died because of stopping alcohol, ridiculously stupid thing to do, having drunk for 20 odd years and then suddenly stopping totally.
People don't understand that there is a danger in that. And I think that is definitely something that we need to have a bit a
trigger on
conversation around.
Trigger on that. Don't be an idiot and do that. But circumstances, and this is where the spiritual side of stuff came in for me, right? I truly believe that weekend happened the way that it did, so I could get the help that I needed to get. And I didn't die, funnily enough.
Thank God.
Yeah. But what it did allow me to do was to realize that trying to battle, that trying to use willpower every single day and bargaining and going, today I won't drink until X time, or today I'll only have so-and-so. That battle was keeping me stuck for way longer than I needed to be. And as soon as I stopped that battle and I went, you know what? No more willpower, no nothing. That's just it. End of. What a release. What a flipping relief that was. And that's when I started to live. So that was back in 2005. And that's really when I changed my identity and started to really understand the brain and addiction. Went on to become, I did addiction psychology and I finally graduated. I got my cap and gown, first person in the family to do that, and all of that good stuff, run my own business, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? The food crept back in, the body image issues crept back in. And I'm like, I still haven't got this sussed. What the funk is going on?
Right.
And this is what I want your listeners to kind of realize, is that we all do this, right? When we're stressed, we turn to food.
Right.
When we need to relax and calm down. I didn't turn to drink anymore, but some of us do. And it's legitimate and it's all right and everybody does it. So it's okay.
And it's chemical and it's
chemical.
encouraged. So if we look at the way things like fast food is set up, we look at the way that food is sold to us, especially the types of food that are sold to us commercially. It's very rare that you see an advert on the telly for food that is healthful. You don't get farmers advertising their lettuces on the TV. You get big conglomerates advertising chocolate on TV, or really high processed foods on TV. Like you'll see an advert for Finder's Crispy Pancakes on, maybe not Finder's Crispy Pancakes.
I remember them.
Oh God, I loved them as
Do
well.
they still make it?
I think they changed the recipe. I used to love the chicken and mushroom ones. Anyway, but especially in lockdown, Vicky, and then this is another important part of the conversation. Food supplies us with dopamine hits, doesn't it? One of the reasons why we go to food is because it triggers pleasure responses. In fact, it would be arguably one of the only pure pleasures, apart from sex, if sex is your thing, that we get to that we get to chase, I guess, is that one of the only legal pleasures that fill us with that feeling that is very readily accessible to us, that triggers off those dopamine hits and those serotonin hits. So it's very easy that if we are bombarded with imagery of these are the desirable foods to eat, the Lindor chocolates and all of this sort of stuff, and all this like luxury processed, not healthful food.
And think about how you moved then when you described it. It's kind of seen as kind of sexy and attractive, and that's the point. It is. Yeah.
You see a woman who is, if you think of a Galaxy chocolate advert, she's wrapped up in a blanket. She's giving herself some me time. This is self-care. This is good for you. You need this, right? It's all of this. So we are being bombarded with this from being children.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why it becomes an unhealthy coping mechanism when we are seeking reward. And one of the things that we talk about, again, in the communities, particularly in the Move Beat Challenge at the minute, and in the program, is about reward. How do we reward ourselves? Drink's another real good example, isn't it? I've had a good day, I'll have a drink. I've had a bad day, I've had a drink. It's a Wednesday, I'll have a drink.
Yeah, and we all do it, whether we're celebrating. Think about it. We've just had Valentine's Day, right? What do you get? Chocolate, flowers, champagne.
Right.
That's the kind of the usual thing, or along them lines.
Yeah.
So we do, whether it's food or drink, whether you're into both or one more than the other, it didn't really matter. It's going to do the same thing. Oftentimes in lockdown, particularly, the amount of people who have said, "Oh yeah, I've put on so much weight," because it's something to do.
Right.
We eat when we're bored.
Right.
We eat when we're stressed. We eat when we can't go out because we're locked in. Right. And we actually need a change of energy and a change of scene, but that's not available. So what is food? Because it's always there. It's in abundance. Alcohol, the same. I mean, they stopped, didn't they, in the second lockdown? They stopped the takeaways being able to sell alcohol. But that was something that they kind of went, oh, shoot, people are going a bit OTT.
Yeah, the usage went up. Emissions went up. All of this went up.
Yeah. And so it's legitimized. And it's really hard then for somebody to turn around and go, I've got a problem.
Right.
I've got a problem with this. And it's harder the longer it goes on.
Right.
And this is where we don't realize that we're sabotaging ourselves, because we're convincing ourselves that we need to do this because it's helping us to get through. Right. But what we don't realize is, as our clothes get tighter and we feel more and more hacked off with how we're behaving, we're actually perpetuating the cycle, which makes it even harder to get out of.
Right.
And most of the people who come to me, a bit like I was, have been on diets and read all the self-help books and tried to do it themselves and gone to therapy and had a counsellor. And, they've done all the things, but they're still struggling. And then so what do? Must be me. What's wrong with me?
Right.
And then I'm broken. I need to be fixed. Yeah. Or we go down the alternative route and go, well, that's just it then. That's how I am, and I'll have to.
There I am. That's it now. That's just the way that I am, and that acceptance again is leaving us in a level of comfort that really is actually discomfort.
Absolutely.
I was watching. It was actually it was Tony Robbins.
Right.
He was doing one of his talks. I was listening to one of, not a cassette. It was like a recording of his cassettes back in the day, and he was saying about when he was sort of 30 pounds heavier than what he was, but actually to maintain that he had to work quite hard at it. He had to it cost him a lot in order for him to maintain that life. You know, he had to buy more food, he had to eat more food, he had to drink more alcohol, he had to do all of these things in order to maintain what his perceived level of comfort was.
Right.
And actually he forgot in this repetition that it was more comfortable, it was more exciting, it was much better for him not to, to do those things.
But that's easy to say if you've been there before, right? So if he'd been slim and he put on weight and he wasn't drinking as much and he wasn't eating as much, he's got a reference point to go back to. Right? A lot of us, and I didn't have that reference point because we've never been slim and we've never had a normal relationship with food, because I grew up in a family that was a bit chaotic and dysfunctional. My mum's had a mental illness. My dad was building his business, and to be quite frank, it's not good with kids, and he'll hold his hand up and go, I only did it because that's what you did.
Your mum wanted, we needed to have kids because that was the right thing to do.
So for me, I was never sure. My mum had bipolar, and so we were never quite sure how she was going to be,
who you was going to get,
what was going to happen. And I got messages about food. Food was entertainment, it was comfort, but it was connection
and love.
And love, because on a Sunday, my dad would be with us and we'd all sit around the table. And he had this thing on a Sunday afternoon. And this is where food memories come in. And this is one of the things that I do with my clients, because we kind of go, why do I always go to that food when I feel like this? Why do I always go to that food when I feel like that? When you go right back to your childhood, Mars bars, Sunday afternoon, chopped into slices, sat on the floor in the living room, all of us, the one time of the week that we were all together, and it was relaxed. It wasn't him pushing us about what have you learned today, what have you read, recite back, blah, blah, blah. It was just relaxed. And it's like, why was my food chocolate? Always chocolate, because that's unknowingly, it was the connection I wanted. It wasn't the chocolate, it was the connection. But I had to figure that out. But I also needed to figure out what's going on physiologically for me. Right. And that's the key that is missing in so much of the emotional stuff. So yes, inner child work. Yes, do trauma work. Yes, find out what is it that's driving you to food, but also know what's happened physiologically, because you might have a genetic snip like I have that makes you more predisposed to being more anxious. And therefore you need that dopamine hit, and you want that serotonin and GABA much more than somebody who doesn't have that genetic snip. That's not your fault. But if you know you've got it, you can manage it.
Right. And when we're talking about GABA, just for anyone who doesn't know, that's the hormone that makes you feel full, isn't it?
No, GABA is the hormone that allows you to feel relaxed and calm and not anxious. So the main kind of neurotransmitters, people have heard of serotonin and dopamine, and they always mention them too, but they're really four. There's serotonin, dopamine, GABA, acetylcholine.
Right.
So all those four, you're happy, you reward, you're calm, you're relaxed.
Right. Okay, cool.
All four of them, right? And if we get them out of balance, then we're kind of in stum, and we don't really know why. Yeah. So this is the physiological side of things that people don't get. But that's a driver. And if your gut microbiome is out of balance because you are eating them processed foods, guess what? Gut microbes do what gut microbes do. They want to grow, they want to get fed. So if you've got more of the bad guys that like sugar and flour and pizza and cake and all that kind of good stuff and alcohol, they're going to go, feed me. The good
that's
guys
what we want.
Going to get pushed down, right? So you're in your mental head going, right, I'm going to change my behavior, going to be really, really good, not going to do this today. And these gut microbes are going, feed me, feed me, feed me.
It does feel like that, though. It gets to a point where it becomes a compulsion for anybody that's ever felt this. And this is definitely something I felt, particularly around alcohol. I had a really disordered, again, for the reasons that you said, disordered a relationship with alcohol based on the fact that everybody around me drank and drank heavily from when I was born. Like, I didn't know what it wasn't to not have alcohol around. So that was just what we did. You just had alcohol around, and dad was an alcoholic, and it was all very behind closed doors, but mum drank with him in order to enable him to almost keep it quiet. My aunties, my uncles, my grandma, like everybody around me was a drinker, and not just a drinker, but a heavy drinker. So my relationship with alcohol was really disordered. You know, I'd be kicking in a couple of bottles of wine a night, and because the telly was telling me it's fine to be, you know, it just reiterated the stories that I was telling myself. It was okay. You know, we do have drinks with friends, and we do have pre-drinks, and we do have after drinks, and we do have commiseration drinks and all of that sort of stuff. So that was where my disordered relationship happened, and it becomes a compulsion. It would be the I would be looking at my watch at 10:30 at night, and it was so the Tesco down the road from us closes at 11 o'clock, and and I'm looking at, and I say, for example, I've decided I'm not having a drink that evening. It will still get to 11:15, 10 to 11, 5 to 11. Can I make it to the shop? I can make it to the shop, and it's 5 to 11 at night. Like, I should be going to bed, not opening a bottle of wine, but that compulsion that I need to go and go and it'd be 5 to 11 and go and get that bottle of wine at a ridiculous time of the evening. And
that's
it's a real
story
thing
that I bet so many people listening can go, oh my God, yeah, that's me. Whether it's jumping in the car for the 24-hour garage because you've got to have chocolate, or you've got to have bread, or you've got whatever it happens to be. And we know we can get it now. This is the difference. So it's much easier to feed that.
Right.
And the hard thing is going, well, everybody else is doing it, so I shouldn't worry. But it's not about what everybody else is doing and whether it's okay. It's about how is it affecting me.
Right.
And for women, you know, we've got this extra kind of stigma. Well, I'm saying for women, but to be honest, it's nearly the same for guys now.
The whole dad bod thing and the shaming of the dads at the moment, I think we're getting it much more broadly now than we ever have. But certainly for women, I think it's intrinsic. Anybody who is carrying any additional weight, there is this shame that we carry with us with the weight. Yeah,
and the problem that we've got, and this is why people don't want to admit it, is because if you go to your GP, they haven't got a flipping clue, to be honest. Where's the best place to send you to? And if you're lucky enough to have a good GP who's come across disordered eating and who has got a good referral, because of the situation that we're in at the minute, you're talking months before you get help. And then it's potluck as to who you get.
As to what help you get.
Yeah, you're going to gel with that person. In the meantime, you're going to be struggling and still wondering what is going on. And it's so easy to revert back to the familiar and to the known, even if it's painful, even if it's uncomfortable, because we know it. And do you know, one of the things, and I think this is why I love what you're doing this week, is you're encouraging people to not step out of their comfort zone, but to expand what's possible and to look at things from a different point of view. And for me, I couldn't even think about what it would feel like to be normal around food, because I'd never been. Or around drink. I didn't know. I didn't have a reference point. I can't go back to something that I've never experienced. And the fear of, who will I be without a drink? Who will I be without that food? That transformation of personality was something that scared the pants off me, because I had no clue who I was. Right? And that is what makes us go, do you know what? I'm all right.
I'm all right as I am. And it's that bit, and I mean, again, this is something that we've spoken about on the show before, where the limbic bit of your brain, the bit of your brain that is an animal, whether we like it or not, with the constructs around us, the bit of your brain that is an animal, its job is to keep you alive. And if everything that you have done so far has kept you alive, then what's wrong with it? So even instinctively, this is the bit of your brain that is not swayed by logic or rationale or language even. It's the bit of your brain that assesses a situation and goes, is this safe? And if the answer is, I don't know, then what you're doing right now, being alive, is what it will encourage you to do. Always. Which is why it's so difficult to break through when you don't know about it.
Exactly. And this is why, because I have a program which actually covers people understanding the brain. And that's what made me fully get why I can't touch alcohol again. I'm one of those people who just can't, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, people have said to me, well, is it much easier to stop drinking than it is to deal with food? And I would say yes, because you can absolutely abstain from alcohol. I just don't drink. That's it. End of story. But I do have to eat every day.
You've got to eat.
I do make food choices every day. And so, you know, that's harder. Having said that, giving up smoking was harder than both of those.
Right.
But they're all the same kind of things. It's about patterns. It's about safety. It's about understanding the brain. And as you say, you know, when I talk to my clients, I kind of go, there's your reptilian brain. It's attached right down at the base there. You've got your, what I call your mammalian brain on the top. And then you've actually got your human brain, which we think is the most sensible one. It's the most stupid.
It's the most stupid one.
Yeah. But that's the one we listen to all the time.
The view that tries to logic everything out and control things all the time.
Yeah,
and this is what generates these behaviors, because it is so often out of alignment with what our true instincts was. And you know, you're saying about those puzzle pieces coming together, connection to yourself, allowing yourself to listen to yourself as and becoming a voyeur of your thoughts.
Exactly. And what I've found, and what so many people have said the same thing to me, is when you've got some kind of disordered eating, and whether it's body dysmorphia, where what you see in the mirror is not the reality, or whether it's just poor body image, it's almost like you've been chopped off at the neck. You know, there's that complete disconnect with what's going on. Except what I help people to understand is that is all connected by this amazing nerve called the vagus nerve. Yeah. And once you understand how the vagus nerve works, and about your neurotransmitters, and about the foods that you're choosing, and how that affects the gut bacteria, which affect the hormones, which affects the vagus nerve, then all of a sudden you've got all of these picture puzzle pieces that now make sense. Yeah. So now you go, okay, so what do I need to do? Right? What do I need to look at, and how do we get to do that? And that's where it comes really exciting, because there's hope, and it's not that hard if you're working with somebody who gets where you've been.
Right.
Yeah? And I think that's the big difference for me. So when I got over alcohol, I needed to get through. I did the 12 steps of AA, but I needed to get through the steps with somebody who was my kind of person, who just went, just do the fucking stuff, right?
Yeah.
Just do
Some
it.
people need loving through it. Some people need their ass kicking through it.
Yeah, and she's just like, I don't want excuses. You're at my house 7:30 every week until you've gone through them steps. Boom, end of story, right? Don't come to me with an excuse. And then as soon as I did it, she went, and now here's a sponsor. You're taking somebody through the steps. I went, oh, I'm not ready. She went, you've been through the steps. You have now finished them. Take somebody else through them right now. Okay. It was the best thing I could have done, because the more times I took other people through it and passed on the stuff, the more it made sense. And honestly, the 12 steps of AA, if anybody's familiar with them, it's life coaching. Right. But I had no freaking clue about any of this stuff. Right. I had no clue how to get in touch with my emotions.
Yeah.
If somebody said to me, how are you feeling? I'd be like, don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. You become so disconnected from it.
Yeah. How do you want me to feel? Because I can feel how you tell me I'm supposed to feel, and then
what's the right answer? I'll feel that thing.
Yeah. And so emotions is a big part of it. But it's putting all, as we said, just putting all them pieces together, and actually, it's allowing yourself to begin with to just have the inkling of a possibility that life might be better without this shit.
Right.
That's all you need.
It's I think difficult when we're making these shifts within ourselves, that we've got to kind of go all in, balls to the wall. Like you said, if drinking has become a thing for wherever you are, and huge love to you if this is where you're at right now. And the reason why we're having this conversation today is because me and Vicky both know that there are more and more and more of us feeling like this as this whole process has become harder. Like this whole lockdown has brought us to a point where we're tired, we're exhausted, we're medicating in ways that, you know, are unhealthy for many of us. Some of us have got it together, and that's cool. And yes, good for you. But we, in this conversation, in this moment, are really here and speaking to the people. If this resonates with you at all, then having that little inkling of hope, it doesn't mean that tomorrow, that's it. There are no more cakes. There are no more chocolate. There is no more wine. There is no more anything. That's it. You've got to abstain from the lot and live in inverted commas, a boring life. I would argue that actually it is far less boring in some respects when you are not medicating this sort of way. But I think you've got to get there. And I think it's very easy for somebody who's been through even a tiny bit of that process, still massive amounts of work to do for me personally. In fact, probably another conversation I need to have with you over, going through this constant realization of self-assessment and this constant calibration of where you're at is one of the reasons why, we've got Vicky on the show today, is because it is becoming so prevalent that we are medicating in these ways. Our reward systems are skewed. And it doesn't mean that we can't say, hey, instead of rewarding ourselves every day with food, what about, for example, saving up and going to a beautiful restaurant and having somebody make incredible food for us and treating food with the reverence of it keeping us alive. Absolutely. As opposed to something with which to, maybe reward ourselves with all the time. How else can we reward ourselves? Is that one of the things that you look at? So I talk about chufty badges. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about chufty badges.
Love it.
But chufty badges are ways in which we reward ourselves. And that needs to be, if we're going to do this consistently, healthy behaviors. If we are rewarding ourselves with unhealthful stuff, with stuff that is poisoning us or stuff that is hurtful to us, it's not a reward.
No, it's not.
So how do we explore ways to reward ourselves that are?
Right. So first of all, think about the stuff. I like to think in terms of heavy and light. So if you enjoy doing something, if something makes you smile, and if you can actually lose yourself in it, like there must be some things that you do where like an hour or even 2 hours has disappeared and you're like, oh my God, where did the time go? Right? Because you're fully engrossed in what you're doing. And if you're fully engrossed in what you're doing, that is a reward in and of itself, right? Yeah. But when it comes to actually doing physical stuff and getting that same hit that you're after, getting that same dopamine hit, they're two different things. So the first thing I'd say is, why do you feel that you need a reward in the first place, right? Is what you're actually doing a part of normal life anyway? And do we need to be rewarded for that? Okay. If the answer is yeah, absolutely, I do, then fine. Then look at stuff that you find enjoyable, that makes you smile, that is literally your thing. Yeah, it needs to be something for you, not what somebody else suggested or is a good idea, but it needs to be what you find pleasurable that is not to do with food or with drink, right? Yeah. So it might be that you need connection, right, and comfort, right? Literally stroking yourself, bare skin to skin, right? Masturbation, brilliant. Really, really lifts your mood, but helps you to feel calm as well. It's you kind of going, yeah, I love you, I'm connecting to you. And allowing yourself to try stuff, something different that you've not done before. It might be that you want to just like go out in the garden barefooted, right, and just run around and feel the grass underneath your feet and be a kid. Do that. Right? Doesn't have to look anyway, but find other things that are not food and drink that you think might work for you. You won't get right every time. That's okay, right? Keep trying.
So maybe instead of seeking reward, seeking joy. And not just thinking, oh well, I need to give myself a chufty badge for this, but actually seeking joy instead of relinquishing joy for so long that you feel like you need to subsidize it with something, or you need to create it with something. Exactly. Really kind of that connection to yourself again. Okay, so where do I find joy? Hey, I find joy in my work. I find joy in speaking to you right now. And I've seen a direct decrease since starting doing this work every single day in my drinking. That I don't drink as much as that I used to. So when everyone else was really ramping up how much they were drinking at the start of lockdown, I've really dialed it back because I've been finding myself in a joy space. So interested, and that's only just me realizing, like in talking to you this morning, that that's been.
So this is the stuff that if you feel you need a reward for doing your work, well, you need to question, why do I feel that I need a reward for doing my work? Is my work not really what I want to be doing?
Right.
Is it too hard for me? Am I making it too hard because I'm doing what I always do and telling myself I should know how to do stuff when really I could go ask somebody else who knows how to do it a lot better than me and get some help, right? So if you're struggling through something, then I understand we need a reward, right? After a struggle, we all want a reward. It takes us back to our childhood again. Well done, you've done well.
Done.
Gold star, all that kind of stuff. But if you're needing that a lot, you need to question, what am I putting in my day that's making me feel that way? You know, this comes back to what you said right at your introduction about having choices about whether this is a hump day or not, or whether this is a hit day. So we've got them choices all of the time. But what we do is we take the easiest, most familiar choice that your reptilian brain says, do that, you know it. It makes you survive. It's your habit. Keep doing it. And this is an opportunity. And what I say to all my clients is come to me with curiosity, first of all. Come to me with a childlike view of, oh, it's exciting. What can we do? What's possible for me, right? Because then you're going to leave yourself open to finding out what does really float your boat, what makes you feel joyous, what makes you light up with anticipation. And if your day-to-day stuff, and let's face it, in lockdown, we've been doing this because the joy's been low. Right?
Where is our joy right now?
So little things like sticking on a YouTube video and getting your airbrush and boogieing in your own room, right? That makes me feel brilliant, right? Because, you know, I'm a frustrated pop singer.
Same.
It has to be 80s music, and I don't care that I'm out of tune, and I don't care who's listening, because it's about me feeling good. And this is giving yourself permission. Women, men, you are allowed to feel good and do the stuff that makes you feel good just for the heck of it, right? And if that saves you from pouring a second glass of wine or going back to the biscuit barrel for the third time in the space of an hour, then it's got to be a good thing.
Right. Absolutely. Vicky, honestly, I could talk to you all day on this. It just is such an incredible conversation. And I really hope, please do tell me in the comments, you guys, that if this has been resonating with you this morning, it's making you think, because if this is starting to make you think, then we get to together link arms and start to look at what is that joy space for you. Actually, that's where the great stuff happened. When I started to work within my joy space, you've all watched it. Magic started to happen. It's insane what happens when you sit in joy and you allow joy as opposed to comfort. And comfort doesn't have to be uncomfortable.
No, and that was what you were just saying there. It reminded me of the fact that we have that kind of fear, don't we? And excitement that rumbles along. And often it's that sense of in your stomach or in your chest or wherever you feel that. Yeah. But if you can just go, do you know what? In my body, fear is the same as excitement. How about I switch that fear to, oh my God, what does this mean? If I'm feeling this feeling, oh my God, what's going to happen? How cool would that be? That we embrace fear and look at the possibilities. And that's what I help people to do. Coupled with the actual physiological knowledge of understanding, you're not broken. You don't need fixing. You don't need to fight stuff. You just need to understand what's going on in your body and in your brain so that you can change things and make your life so much more free, enjoyable, and fun. And you know what? Whether you believe we're here for once or whether we go somewhere else, I don't really care. But right now is all we've got. And I want to enjoy it, every blooming second of it. And I don't want it to be focused around every minute of every day going, what can I eat? What shouldn't I eat? What am I allowed to eat? What day is it today? Is it a green day, blue day, whatever? I don't want any of that.
I don't want a restricted life. Who wants a restricted life when actually what we're talking about here is being free and being joyful? And Vicky, I can't thank you enough for bringing this energy to the table this morning and sharing these thoughts and these conversations. I know it's resonated with so many. It's resonated with me. Vicky, tell us how we can hang out with you. I want to hang out with you all the time. I want you around with me in my pocket. Everybody needs a Vicky Midwood.
Right. So you can connect with me, obviously, Facebook and LinkedIn and all that good stuff. I'm Vicky Midwood. But also my website, dead simple, vickymidwood.com. You can book in there for a 30-minute free consultation. If you think you have got an issue with food or alcohol, you're just not sure and you just want to chat, free consultation with me. And also I do the Eating Freely program, which is a time frame program, which is all them pieces of puzzle that we were talking about today, all put together for you, one-to-one with me. We'd sort you out in 20 weeks, done. And then the last thing is that is really helpful for right now in lockdown. If you're like, I've got another 6 weeks, but I can't keep going doing what I'm doing for another 6 weeks before we're out in the real world. Jump on my Breakthrough the Binge Habit, which is just like a 1 hour power hour. And I can tell you exactly what you need to do to help you feel back into control fast, so that the next 6 weeks before you get out there and see people again, you are doing what you need to do to feel fabulous in you.
I love it. Vicky, thank you so much for coming onto the show this morning. I think you are a glorious human being. This is not going to be the last time that you and I have a conversation in the slightest. But Vicky Midwood, everybody, give her a round of applause. The crowd go wild.
Thank you.
That was a phenomenal conversation, a timely conversation. Please do, if you found this conversation helpful today, please do share it. This is not about being on a diet. This is not about diet culture. This is about allowing ourselves to live in our joy space and the magic that happens when we do it. And sometimes we've got to question some of our behaviors around that in order for us to allow ourselves to break open and live much more freely and in that joy space. So this is not, again, just for those of you listening out there, think you've walked in on the wrong conversation. You absolutely categorically haven't. I am not for diet culture either. This is absolutely 100% about loving yourself, being in love with yourself, and allowing yourself to be the absolute best that you can be. And that might, it will still involve food. We have to eat. It might still involve alcohol if that's what you choose to do, but it's about choice. It's about you being able to choose what brings you joy. And if you do want to hang out with Vicky, please do give her a holler, give her a shout and tell her that your Auntie Dan sent you. All right, you lot, I will see you tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning for the show at Rise Up Show. And I've got a bit of a special treat for you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as well. I'm going to be doing a workshop out on my business page, the Queen Bee Dani page on Facebook, where I'm going to be talking you through my hints and tips, my top 5 tips to get out of your own way. And so please do come and join me tomorrow. We're going to have a bit of a celebration of this week. It has really been a joyful week here in the IATQB community. Thank you for being a part of it. You are absolutely wonderful human beings. Happy hump day, happy Win It Wednesday, however we're looking at it, it's in your hands. I will see you tomorrow at 9:30 for the show at Rise Up Show, and tomorrow at 8 p.m. for our Overcoming Self-Sabotage workshop and celebration live. I'll see you then. Take care. Have a good